And then as our wedding gift, my in-laws were living in Paris, and they gave us a trip to Paris to visit with them. So of course we went to wine country and had use of the car, drove to Burgundy, and once we got to Burgundy, that was it. That was my epiphany. It was like, this is what I need to do with my life. To me, a food-friendly wine is a wine that has good balance. It has good acidity, has nice color, has nice tannin, but everything's in balance. There's some fruit there, but it's not hitting you straight in the face. But the philosophy here at Freja has always been, let's make a wine that's meant to be paired with food. Winemaking is like a 50-50 deal. It's half science, and you can make wine just all based on science, but the other half of it is there's so many things, so many variables in making wine. You know, the barrels, the toast, where your barrels come from, Hungary, France, what part of France, what forest. But there's just a palette you start with, and there's just so much variability there, and that's where I think where the artistic value comes in winemaking. Exclusively Pinot Noir at this site. We do a rosé from the Pinot Noir, but you know, the goal is to do about 2,000 cases a year. When I went for my master's over in Stockholm in chemical engineering, I was real interested in fermentations. So I studied a little bit of beer making on a commercial level, and basically my educational background, I mean, pumps and pipes and tanks, and I mean, that's chemical engineering, I mean, but it's really process technology, making stuff from other stuff. Laurelwood's kind of an interesting soil in that its base is volcanic. It's a very reddish clay. It looks very much like the Jory soils further south of here. You know, during the Ice Age, when finally warmed up, there was an ancient lake in Montana, and when the ice dam burst there, it basically carved out the Columbia River Gorge, and it left all that sedimentary soil on the slopes of the Columbia. And during subsequent windstorms, it blew it up to these Chehalem Mountains, and it got caught all on the north face. And on my particular site, even though we're at a high elevation here, 800 feet, it's about 30 foot deep. So the roots are very deep on my vineyard here. Well, when I first planted, you really only had two choices. In the late 80s, Wadenswil was the first clone that David Lett brought in. And Wadenswil has a French heritage, although it was developed in Wadenswil, Switzerland, hence the name. Pomar's kind of bigger, fatter wine, more color. Wadenswil doesn't give you much color, but it gives you a little more finesse. And in the 90s, we introduced in Oregon a whole host of different Dijon clones for the winery here. We began experimenting with 115. 777 is one I like a lot. It's got a lot of finesse to it. And there's new ones coming up all the time. We do my own lab work here. I have to tell you though, I don't rely on the chemistry too much anymore. I could pretty much go out there and, I mean, I'll still check the chemistry, but I'm going by flavor profile. And I've been testing now for 20 years, so I've got a pretty good idea of when they're ripe. Looking at seed color, chewing on the skins a little bit, seeing what kind of flavor's coming off of there. And when they get dialed in, you could really tell. You know, we're cropping to a proper level so they ripen up in time. We're leaf pulling, getting sun on the clusters. But here in the winery, you get out of the way of the wine again. You know, I don't want to over-extract it too much. Don't want to be adding too much tannin in. One of the things with my site being a high elevation here that I like to do is I jettison the seeds after about a week of fermenting. So that helps tremendously change the profile of the wine and keeps those green tannins out of there. Read quite a bit on Spectator, some of the early winemakers, and one that kind of caught my fancy was David Lett. He had a big influence on me early on. But I like David because he did a finesse style that, you know, I'm very much in the Burgundian camp. One of my favorite Burgundies is Volnay, which is a very soft finesse kind of Pinot Noir from the southern part of the Burgundy Valley. And it was really good advice to me that he gave me. Just stick to my guns, stick to my principles, and the customers will come. Build it and they shall come, right? Good thing about Oregon is we all help each other still, and we haven't gotten big enough where it's too competitive, where we're not helping each other out.